Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, the world is literally on fire. I don't think that 2025 has officially started. This is like a 2024 expansion pack I bought on Temu. I'm not happy with any of this.
How do you return it, though?
I don't know. I would like to see a manager.
Do you need a receipt?
I don't think so.
And not the AI chatbot, the actual manager.
Exactly.
The real
this
one.
This is aggressive. Okay, joining me in studio and those lovely voices you're hearing, that's Adam Selzer, author, historian, and really fantastic daily tours. You can go to Mysterious Chicago on Facebook and sign up for his virtual tours as always.
We've been ripping on Frank Lloyd Wright all month.
Yeah, there you go. And Ken Mejia Beal, former chair of the DuPage County Dems, now the treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to Youth Outlook.
Youth-outlook.org.
I was so close.
You almost had it.
So freaking close.
So close.
You know how I am terrible with people's names? As many people.
I did not know that.
People in the audience are nodding their heads aggressively right now. Yeah, she's terrible. So just a quick story because I was cleaning the house and we've talked about hoarding notebooks. Like I have hundreds easily, right? So I was going through and seeing what I could use as a prompt for maybe an essay or a comedy bit, and I found a whole page I'd written in May of 2019. A friend of mine I've known since we were 16 years old, so now almost 40 years, right? Since 1987. Since 1987. And I never have been able to say his name. Right. And I wrote we called him Dan Z. I called him Dan Z and just let it go my whole life.
Okay.
So I was having him on. I'm like, well, I got to find out how to say his name, which is Zyolkowski. I'm just going to say it real fast and still get it wrong. Sorry, Dan. There it is. But even in that page, I wrote about how I know it sounds rude. And I wrote this 5 years ago that I can hear someone say a name or a word and I really struggle with saying it right back. So it's just a thing.
No, I went to high school in a very ethnic neighborhood, and I had a lot of Polish friends with names that's like, I'm not built to pronounce this, and I'm sorry. It's a lot.
I'd like to buy a vowel pad.
I need something to break this up. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what happens, and I don't know. I know that when I was younger, my mother, who is from Mexico, and they were I said crocodile wrong for a long time, like cocodril. I said it the way she would say it. There were certain words because she spoke Spanish in the house, or said certain words slightly off. Right, so I still struggle, and it gives me so much anxiety when I get a name. I'll practice. I'll get a YouTube how to pronounce because they have that.
Yes, they
folks.
do.
If you don't know how to pronounce a name, you can just Google how do you say.
But
and
that's not necessarily how they pronounce it. Though.
I've been corrected.
It backfires.
Yeah. Yes, and it's fun when you're live on the air and someone's a little terse on the phone. And I'll still, before I come on the air, during a commercial, I'll ask a guest, "Am I saying this correctly?" And still, will just.
The worst is when I ask, how do you pronounce this? And I do it right. And then 30 seconds later, I still do it wrong. And it's like, what happened?
Exactly.
Ken?
What happened in the brain? What happened in the... And Adam, you go through a lot of archives, through a lot of records. And I mean, most of the people that you talk about have been dead for over 100 years.
Oh, yeah. And there's no way to ask them how they would have pronounced it most of the time.
Have you ever had anybody who has a similar name and corrects you for something that's from a long time ago?
Yeah. A woman who worked in Frank Lloyd Wright's office, Marion Mahoney Griffin, no matter how I pronounce the Mahoney part, people will tell me it's supposed to be Mahoney. And if I say Mahoney, people say, no, she pronounced it Mahoney. That, no matter how I say it, I'm going to get corrected.
Yeah, people do like to do that.
Yeah,
I've been corrected on Vasquez, first of all, by my mom first, because I say, it's not Vasquez, like I said, Chicago, right? But I've always tried to gently correct people when they say Vasquez, right? And I have a joke that I've had my sister-in-law was like, well, I have friends and they say Vasquez, and I'm like, well, they're not real Mexicans. Also, do they say quesadilla? Right?
They do.
But then I was working at another job and someone told me that her in-laws, her name, her married name, and she goes by Vasquez, and I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. This is really painful for me.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I get called Vasquez. I've been called Vasquez, Velasquez, Sanchez.
Where
That's
does
fun.
Velasquez come from?
Oh, where does Sanchez come from?
Well, that too. That also.
So there you go. So I wanted to gather today. First of all, John Fugel saying we'll be joining us at 6:30 tonight. Maybe we'll call him. I'll see if he can join us a little bit earlier. But I also know that he does a lot of different shows, and there's a lot going on in the world. So what I haven't asked you guys when we came in. For me, I guess what I'm seeing a lot of today is the impending TikTok ban. And
we should stop calling it a TikTok ban. They're just required to sell it. It's not being banned.
Right.
Well, and the thing is that it's supposed to apply to any company that is owned by a foreign interest that might be gathering our information that is a national security risk. But I'm pretty sure that everything we do is collecting our information, and we don't know where it goes after that.
So I am.
What if the government finds out I like butts?
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of tuned out, because I feel like I'm being spied on every day of my life, and it's become. I don't care anymore.
They're just going to all they've ever done is advertise at me, you know?
Well, and I think that, I don't know which show it was today, talking about the Patriot Act, that we basically were, that our politicians decided that it was national security and safety, that we would exchange our personal information. We said it's okay to gather data about us, listen to our phone calls, track us online.
I think even then we already assumed they were doing it anyway.
Yeah. Right? That's what it's like. I thought you guys did this already.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If my conversations are always being recorded by Google, here's what I'm going to need. I want a transcript, because this is a really good book that I have going on. Can you imagine the things that I've talked about and the life that I've lived? I'm already writing one, but I'm also what did I forget? I'm writing about my family, and I'm and new things are jumping out at me. But man, if I had a recorded history of it, I want that transcript.
Well, where our government is not making money, and they should, is I would buy in to get those drunk phone calls back. I just run it back.
Come on.
Run it back.
Yes.
If someone just tells me, no, Ken, you did agree to watch 33 Kittens next Thursday night. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Got it.
What do you want out of this deal, Adam? If they're collecting it, I think we should get something out of this deal.
I'll pay it.
No comment.
Yeah, it is. I've been in that space for a little while, as far as it's the cat's out of the bag, horses out of the barn, around the world, all those things. But my husband is, because we were having this conversation during Declan's therapy session. The therapist was talking about how even smart refrigerators, all your smart appliances that are gathering data. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I've always I've assumed my smart TV is watching me, and they're keeping track of what I'm watching.
Right.
And I just assume I'm being watched all the time. I don't. If you were to go through my everyday life, though, is not that interesting. I don't do anything that I think the average American in my age bracket that is also homosexual doesn't do. So I'm not too,
Right.
If somebody's going through everybody's emails and stuff, they're going to figure out it's all the same after about 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to get pretty bored pretty fast.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at WGN, we used to have a game that Adam, I think, played, was What's in the Box.
Oh, I loved What's in the Box.
What's in the Box was a masterpiece of a segment. Very proud of it. Here's how it started. It started because I was, actually, it's a little bit, hi, everybody listening to Progressive Radio. I am very sex positive forward, and that I think that if you want to explore your body and experience things, you should, wherever you intend to do that shopping. I just didn't know that there were people that gave very extensive and intensive reviews of items for pleasure. Okay, and it was fascinating. I mean, rabbit holes where I went down it. I was and my favorites were women in the military who were wanted to get it done fast and quiet in the barracks and things.
Yeah.
And I thought we should make gift baskets for women in the military with batteries and
I love it,
all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, me and Charles, remember Charles, who used to be a regular on with us, the pharmacist? Yeah. He was what if we did dramatic readings of these, and then what if we compiled these reviews and made a book that taught men what taught people what people like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I brought it to the station manager, and he was interesting idea. And then he was the one. It was actually Todd Manley who said, "What if we did this? Why don't we make it a game where you read a review for an adult toy, and then you ask it would be, or you would read a review for a kitchen appliance." So blenders, toasters, hand mixers, right? So heats up too fast, gets the job done.
Oh, I love this.
So we whittled it down to where it was so it wasn't like these long ones because it was a little intense. But my producer, the first producer, Craig, was like, please don't make me do this. I don't want to do a search history on these. he was mortified that this was now going to be part basically.
I love it.
It's not for here, but we still do it once in a while for live performances. So we'll figure out a situation where we can do. So we have people on stage, and we have and Elliot put together like a slideshow and everything for it. It was so much fun. This is
the perfect Saturday night.
Oh my God, so much fun. We should figure out a venue where this would be fun. I think for bachelorette parties, it would be fun too.
It would be fantastic, yeah.
Right?
I can't think of anywhere where this would not be a good time.
Yeah, like birthday parties, you know.
I'm just, here we have, let me take a quick break and we've got calls coming in.
All right.
So let me do it this way before more calls come in. I'm putting people on hold and I got to juggle everything. We have Adam Selzer in studio with us. We have two guest co-hosts today. Adam Selzer, author, historian, and you can go to mysteriouschicago.com or Adam Chicago?
AdamChicago.com should be an easy shortcut. Yeah, MysteriousChicago.com is the official one, but Adam Chicago is easier to remember. It'll take you right there.
And I was telling folks about your, the convention, which is always the MysterioCon, which is always...
first weekend of October or last weekend of September, depending on what the calendar's looking like. So it'll be last weekend of September this year, MysterioCon.
And I don't know that it will be in published form, but I'm so much closer at having a book ready this time.
Right.
Well, because it's so Chicago-based. So I'm writing a book called Chicago Girl about growing up here.
I love it.
And I don't know if there's a friend of mine, Eric Wallenius. I don't know if you know Eric. I was telling him, every time we're on the phone, I tell him some story, and he goes, Patty, I have to stop you. I think you are the most Chicago person I have ever met. And so I am writing those stories. And
I can't wait to read it.
I think I'm going to start doing short essays from it on Substack, which is where a lot of people are going next. And that way I can kind of drop the little anchor in the water and see what folks think. Ken Mejia Beal, former chair for the DuPage County Dems, now the treasurer for Youth Outlook. You can go to youth-outlook.org.
There you go.
And learn more about the great work they do there. And we'll learn more about that in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm your host. And coming up at 6:30, John Fugelsang will be joining us for, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We should probably let him know what that's going to be. More after this.
Think Theory Radio. Dr. Hande Ozdinler. She is a neuroscientist, but also an artist.
It seems that the larger we go, the galaxy, the sky, and then also as small as we go, right? The nanostructures, the atomic interactions or cellular interactions, there is so much resemblance. There is a secret or there is an unspoken symmetry.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820. Chicago's Progressive Talk. WCPT 820, where facts matter.
What do we do with the girl next door? She's got no choice like she did before. What do we do with the farmer's daughter? The court took away what her mama fought for. Ask the good old boys drinking whiskey and rye. What do we do with Miss American Pie? Let's keep her barefoot and pregnant and down on the farm, cooking in the kitchen and cleaning out the barn, praying in church, a credit to her gender, popping out babies like a Pez dispenser. 9 out of 10 evangelicals would agree. Let's keep her barefoot and pregnant like the good Lord meant her to be.
Hey, everybody, that's Gwen Levy and the Breakdown. Gwen's going to join us on Wednesday. She'll be at the People's March in Washington, D.C., and I'm hoping everyone is going to be safe on that. That's on Saturday, right? The People's March?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, so I will be in Walworth County. I'll be with the Elkhorn Dems there for their People's March, and I think I'm giving a little speech and stuff, so I'm excited about that.
Yay.
And so we're going to check in with Gwen Levy on Wednesday. I'm nervous for folks because Trump announced a victory rally for Saturday, the 19th, so which means that while the people are there on Saturday, the 18th, for the People's March, people will be coming in from all over the country who might have bad intentions on Saturday as they pregame for that's, I mean, you know, okay. In the days leading up to January 6th, I was on Twitter, and people in my neighborhood were arrested, by the way. There was a guy a few blocks from my house who was at January 6th who was arrested. And there were a few people who had dragged me after I ran, and after the pandemic hit right after I ran for office, because it was March 17th and the world closed, and then George Floyd was murdered. And I was out with Black Lives Matter. I shared a piece that a reporter had written. It was a person, like a commentary on why this was so impactful, why it was important to hold the line, why it was important to hold police accountable. So I shared it, right, and it was in a neighborhood group that I shared it, and of course people took screenshots, and I started getting trolled and threatened on Twitter. So I started but keeping track of those people, and those people went to January 6th, right, and they were like they're doing shots of Fireball, they're taking pictures of what do they call them, the gravy seals, like guys are like, I think that they're paramilitary, but they're they're loaded with all the equipment and with masks and all the stuff.
The
losers, we call them. Losers.
Yeah. Actually, the FBI I reported several of their accounts as to what they said there's going to be blood in the streets, that kind of thing, and I got calls from the FBI to say what I had seen, and that account was permanently closed. But because I'm not on Twitter anymore, and I don't follow any of those extremists anymore, because for a while I was a little bit like Phil and host Dan Schaefer, who watches Fox. I kind of wanted to keep tabs and sort of get a feel for what was going on out there. I don't do that. It was too harmful to my soul.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I couldn't do it anymore.
I try to watch Laura Ingraham.
Oh my God.
Because I'm a glutton for punishment, but I also want to stay informed. And usually halfway through, I'll just look at my dog like, we deserve better. I deserve better. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. But it does help to stay kind of in tune to what is happening on the other side.
I'll get enough of it'll filter through. I don't even watch TV news on my own side unless there's something breaking.
No.
Fair.
I go to my parents' place and they've just got it on all the time.
No, the minute they started dragging Biden after the debate, I was done. I have not watched CNN, MSNBC. I don't watch any of it. I can't. I can't.
I don't feel like they've broken anything that I hadn't already seen 20 minutes before on the internet.
That's true.
Are you guys on TikTok as a consumer at all?
Not very often.
Yeah. No?
I get what do you call them, the reels that people will send to me?
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm literally signed up to TikTok so that I can review the reels that people. I don't do anything.
Right. I've got an account. I don't post to it too often. Every now and then I'll throw something up. When I scroll through, it's just a handful of accounts that I follow, and it's never news stuff. I feel like the slant you get on news there, it's what builds engagement tends to be the most extreme stuff.
Yeah. Well, I like Aaron Parnas, Lev Parnas' son, who is Aaron's a Democrat. I mean, I don't know if he says that, but he does a pretty good job of just doing the breaking news and seems to have it ahead of everybody else, and I kind of enjoy following him.
Yeah. Well, on Facebook, it gives you all of your suggested reels, and mine are almost invariably nothing but King of the Hill clips and people opening old packs of baseball cards. And I don't know what I did right, but finally this algorithm got one right. I will watch King of the Hill clips and people opening old packs of baseball cards all day. I love it.
That's amazing.
I need to get on that algorithm.
Yeah.
Let me get to Judy's call before I get to some texts coming in that I'm enjoying. Hey, Judy and Niles, you're on with me and Ken. Sorry, I didn't get your first name right, much less Ken.
That's such a hard one to pronounce, Ken.
Ken is hard.
It's a one syllable. I had a shot at it. Ken Mejia Beal and Adam Selzer. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, I've been curious all day. Stephanie was not on this morning. Last week they were talking about having a go bag. Is she all right? Is her house standing?
Was it a repeat?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. You know what? I was not aware because I was working today, so I did not. I can check and see on her social media.
Well, my husband searched long and hard, but he's not much better than I am. But he did find one thing that said that her house had been burned.
So I feel like she's in the hills. The hills caught on fire. My friends live in the area that Stephanie Miller lives in, I believe. And there was a sunset fire that catch part of the hills. She might live in that area. For the most part, it was contained, but I don't know. But the thing is, the issue is that the air quality is awful in the area, bad. Including where they are. I don't know. This is just from me speculating. The problem too is that the winds are picking up again. And see, now I'm all turned around because I was listening to Stephanie this morning, so I thought that she was talking about the winds picking up again. But now that I learned it's a repeat, I don't know.
It was a rerun, yeah. Well, but they are saying that it's picked up again. Because that's one news I've been looking at. I switch around stations and see how that's going. The only friend we had lived in Malibu has moved away in the last big fire because they said that they'd had enough of it. They moved farther north.
Yep, I think a lot of folks are moving to Chicago and I do think it's weird. Okay, what are your thoughts, Judy?
Well, we have a history of fires here too, you know.
Yeah,
it's been a minute.
Well, let's move to Chicago so there's no fires.
I think I had a grandmother in it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, well, they said they watched it. They were across the river. I have several of their addresses. I can't really. I can't really nail it down, but she did. She came down from Wisconsin and was a domestic as a young girl.
Okay.
My grandma,
right?
Grandma Huff. Yeah, and then she married an English guy.
There you go. Well, Judy, I'm checking.
But they were here at the time, so I guess they could have seen it.
I don't have because I don't have Twitter on my phone anymore. Do either of you have Twitter on your phones?
I do. Yeah.
Can you check for Stephanie Miller? Do you? Oh, here, Matt's joining us in the studio.
Breaking news.
Stephanie Miller did do a new show today. There might have been an issue getting the show to Westwood One and then to us. So, but she did do a new show from her home today.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Perfect.
It was. There might have been parts that were rebroadcast only in the catching up with the broadcast. So there. Okay, so she's still broadcasting from her home. She's at home so far.
Okay.
Good.
It's not at Stephanie Miller, right?
At Stephanie Miller's show, maybe.
Okay, because when I look here's what pulls up.
No,
at Stephanie Miller.
no.
It's OnlyFans and some
Stephanie
butts.
is very attractive and she does work out a lot, but I don't think that she's.
I don't think that's going to be her pinned.
No,
I don't think that's going to be her pinned tweet.
No, so it sounds as though. We'll ask John Fugelsang about an update for Stephanie. Sound good?
He should know.
Yeah, exactly.
He was with her this weekend. They had a show in Washington, D.C., I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They have a show on the 18th.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's going to be a crowded show.
So they would be in contact, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll find out what I can. Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shout out to Stephanie Miller. I'm sure she's very nice. There's a link to her. If you go to that, there's a link to her OnlyFans. So I don't want to rob her of a plug.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
It's at Stephanie Miller's show.
Yeah,
Stephanie
Miller's show. I didn't see that one. Okay.
When I started Twitter, whatever year it was, 2010 or so, Patti Vasquez was taken by like an 8-year-old girl. Well, I think he had to be 12, but like a kid. So Blue Sky, I jumped on my Patti Vasquez.
You gotta get them. I jumped in so late, and then I got married and I had a name change. It's like no.
Yeah, it's just a pain. We're in studio with Adam Selzer. You can go to adamchicago.com for information about all the great stuff that he does, links to the books that he's written, over 25 books, 26 now. Working on a sequel to the Graceland Cemetery book.
Yep. And, Graceland Cemetery too. Actually, I think, what day is today? The 13th?
13th.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so I think my book on Trinity Churchyard in New York is out tomorrow.
Hey,
congratulations. So available at hardware stores and gift shops around Lower Manhattan soon, I hope.
And Ken Mejia-Beal also joins us in studio, treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org for all the great work that they do there. Support their mission.
Yes, please.
To help your community feel safer and cared for and loved.
And we have a trivia night coming up on Thursday at Skeleton Key Brewery in Woodridge, Illinois. I will be your trivia person, and we're going to be doing that once a month for the duration of the year.
Excellent.
So come play with me.
Hey. Before we go to break, since we're talking to Stephanie, and Bobby wanted to talk about Stephanie Miller. Bobby in Indiana, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I don't know what happened because I have my radio kind of permanently welded to WCPT, and I try to get up in the morning. I don't always catch much of Richard's show because my timing's out of whack, but I had it on by 8 o'clock, and Stephanie came on 3 hours live show this morning, and they were saying that they were all being threatened with evacuation at any time because the fires were, some of them getting fairly close to them. But as of the time they went on and the time they got off, they were on the air on WCPT.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's that, and folks are texting in too. So there might have been some rebroadcast portions in order to catch the audio, catch up with the audio that was coming in from Westwood One. But yeah, that was what I thought too. But it's and sometimes if you're watching free speech TV during commercials, they air rebroadcasts, which can
I've heard that those too. But this morning, right from the start, she mentioned that this was their Monday morning starting a new week show, and I didn't catch any old parts, so I don't know.
Yep. Well, thanks for giving us the update, Bobby. Have a great evening.
You too.
Or have the best to your ability evening. That's what we all should be.
Yeah, best to your ability
Best to your ability evening. Let's take a quick break here and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. In studio with Adam Selzer and Ken Mejia-Beal.
Tom Hartman.
Autocrats generally, particularly those autocrats who have narcissistic personality disorder and are sociopaths, as is, in my opinion, Trump, typically do not tolerate high-profile people around them. They want to be the star of the show, and that's certainly been the history of Donald Trump. The only people that he will tolerate around him are people who, when he says, kiss my ass, they fall to their knees.
The Tom Hartman Radio Program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter. Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and in studio we have Adam Selzer, author historian, whose book coming out tomorrow about the Trinity.
About Trinity and St. Paul's churchyards in New York. Yeah,
excellent. That comes out tomorrow.
That is out, I think, tomorrow. This isn't like one of those top tier books where the release date is all that. It comes out when the shipments come in. And when people put it on their shelves,
I was, it's funny, it's been so busy, but I was talking to somebody about your work, and they were talking about how much they love cemetery stories, and they probably are. It's one of those things where people don't realize I'm talking about you until they're like, oh, no, I do follow him.
Right.
It's a wonderful community. And Ken Mejia-Beal joins us in studio. He's the former chair of the DuPage County Dems and treasurer now for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org. Yeah. Tell folks a little bit about the work that you guys do.
What we do is we provide resources to LGBTQ youth, and we also provide resources to their parents. It really is a holistic approach to stability and community, and then that's what we do. And this Thursday we have our trivia. Well, every month we're going to have trivia. This month it is this Thursday, Skeleton Key Brewery. Give me a follow at Ken Mejia-Beal on Instagram or Facebook or the Twitter or whatever you follow, and sign up for the newsletter. You'll get, and so the newsletter, if I can make this really quick, is going to be a combination of a lot of things that I'm putting together. Music recommendations, documentary recommendations, organization recommendations, kind of a go-to calendar to do all the fun stuff you want to do. So sign up for that newsletter. It's going to be great.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic.
It's going to be awesome.
Are you planning out? Do you either one of you? So Substack seems to be the place where a lot of TikTok, influencers and creators are going next. Do you have anything on Substack?
I've got a lot of friends on Substack.
Yeah.
I have an account. I haven't actually used it for anything, but
Same.
it's one of those things that I figure I probably ought to get around to sooner or later. By the time I do, it won't be the thing anymore. Something new will come up by now.
That's exactly. I mean, that's how I've been.
I didn't jump on that train, and with all the Facebook's crap, it's tempting to find a way off of Facebook. That's where most of my work is, though.
1,000%. Well, I mean, so one of the stories that was, or not stories, but some of the conversation with Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg was that he was saying that there's not enough of a masculine environment.
They mean aggressive.
Right.
They don't really mean masculine. They just mean aggressive.
Because 2 out of every 3 workers at Facebook is a guy. So I don't even know what they're. Yeah. So he's saying that the people that work for him are not masculine. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're saying, and I've heard this recently, right? Okay. I don't know if it's because. So, if we've had these conversations, I've talked to a few people, dudes who are and white dudes who are Democrats, but also say they feel like there isn't, or they're getting in their conversations with their friends that doesn't seem like there's essentially a safe space for white men anymore in the Democratic Party. I know. A lot of emotions.
Well,
yes.
Let me say this as a non-white male. I do believe, and I'm going to get crap for saying this.
We're going to talk through it.
And I just added, follow me. Don't follow me if you have a problem with what I'm about to say, though. I do believe that the Democratic Party over the last few years, and we've talked about this on air, has done not a good job of pandering to suburban white women. And in that pandering, they have kind of excluded the rest of us. So part of me does understand the feeling that the Democratic Party doesn't have space for cisgender white men, but I also don't think the Democratic Party has space for anybody sometimes outside of white suburban women. I think the Democratic Party has to do better with being a bigger tent that is more inclusive, and the Democratic Party isn't necessarily doing a good job of that, so I do understand it to a degree.
So go ahead.
I think, the far right is actively and aggressively courting young men, and we're actively not.
Correct.
There it is.
We get more retweets out of just scolding them, and not specific ones, just like in a broad general sense.
Correct.
We act like every 12-year-old guy is an internet troll.
Correct. And that's I think what the Democratic Party as a whole, not individually, but what we do is we tend to demonize young men. I remember when President Obama gave the speech in Pennsylvania where there were so few black men in the audience, and he kind of goes, "Black men, do better, pull your pants up, you know who to vote for." And I'm at home going, okay, well, that was rude. So it's a lot of talking down to men in the Democratic Party, and so I get it.
I didn't. So someone just texted, making insecurity where none was before, and I got chastised last week or the week before about generalizing about white dudes, and they were like, is what's good for the goose good for the gander kind of a thing, like, how would women feel if they? But we always are generalized about, so I don't know how
to. Us are always.
I don't know how to fix that.
Everybody's generalized about.
I'm not sure if that's necessarily the bone to pick, because what you're saying is like actively having, I guess. But see, Joe Rogan is sort of an anomaly, because he was already famous when he started doing the podcast, and then became somewhat influential amongst young white men, and then started with this ivermectin and vaccines don't work, and it was the wrestling culture, it was all that stuff, and then once he had accumulated that kind of a following, then it was like, Trump is great, or whatever it was, right?
Well, I will say I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. I've never listened to his podcast. It's not my thing. However, what he was able to do and do very well is, before he started speaking to the angry men, he actually gave them a platform where he listened to them and kind of put a mirror up to them and said, okay, I'm going to reflect.
Right.
And that is happening, and the Republicans are doing a really good job of attracting, a lot of young white men, but also a lot of young Black and Latino men. So the Democratic Party does have to do better at attracting men and speaking to us.
We
about
have to
issues.
want to attract them too.
Well, that too.
I often feel like it was the thing I went through a lot when I was in the young adult literature community. You go to a YA fest, there's 600 girls and 4 guys, and afterwards the authors will be saying there were so many guys here this year. There were too many, and it can get rough if somebody says we should have more books that target guys as readers on the internet. That person's going to get dragged to hell and back.
Yep.
I think that you make
we
a really good
actively
point.
don't want them as an audience.
And I think that it's funny, and I don't want to share a story that's not mine to put here. But I have a friend that worked at like a Comic-Cons who was twice like basically dragged for like, hey, you started making a couple, like he was a moderator and worked a panel or interviewed a guest, and it was like, I can't believe the and like one of the least misogynistic people I know, but like it's something taken out of context and like driving another, basically an ally out of a space. I mean,
you saw that. I saw that a lot. Like the pylon starts and everybody gets on the pylon. And so when I walk through author spaces now, if someone else said that I only listened to dead white male authors because I mentioned a Mavis Staples cover of a Leonard Cohen song, how many people in this room would get on the pylon?
Right.
And I feel like all of them probably would. Yeah. And even though if they actually read the entire tweet or something, they'd see that there probably wasn't any reason that I should have my kids taken away. But by the time that's already on the internet, everybody's got to get in on it.
It's the pylon. The internet is... I hate social media. I loathe it. I'm there because I have to be.
Right.
But it's so irritating. I mean, for me, I have, I like to call them the Swans, and they're probably listening, which is a group of, I like to say, elite white suburban women that hate my very existence. That's okay. I don't care. But the problem is the pylon starts, and then all of a sudden I'm this misogynist or whatever, and I'm, not to toot my own horn, the furthest thing from. And just like many gay men, my closest friends are women. And so it becomes a thing where if you say that, now you're doubling down on misogyny and you're not listening. It turns into a thing. But what I've learned is if you think I'm a misogynist, great. Unfollow. Right. I'm done arguing about it. Like, if I am whatever you want me to be.
Well, you got to watch out for when they're actually trying to point something out or trying to make a point or something that you would really learn from, and when they're just trying to tear you down to build themselves up.
And there is a difference.
There's social justice warriors and there's social justice social climbers.
Can I point out something, though, because this is a big deal for me, is typically when someone is trying to educate me, I'll get a DM. And they'll say, hey, Ken, you said blah, blah, blah. And and that's when I listen. If you try to embarrass me in public, I'm done listening because that's what you're trying to do is tear me down.
That's building clout for yourself, not trying to help.
So
any tweet that ends with hope this helps.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, thanks. You could have easily sent this to my inbox, but... So there's a difference.
So someone just messaged, and I'm trying to think about this because, hi, I'm trying to imagine what your conversations will be like after Trump's been in office for a few months. The subject certainly won't concern poor Democratic Party messaging. And I disagree in the sense that because we're going to have to be strategizing and continue to work and rally the troops and figure out how we're going to, win a Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin on April 1st. So we are constantly going to have to think about, yes, we're going to be responding to just a flood of crazy. I mean, one press conference, and I can't even with Greenland and Canada being the fifth.
Don't even.
It's going to be like
it's like a fever dream
every single day,
it's literally like a South Park episode from the 90s.
Oh my God!
Like, is this the Onion or the Times? What is it? I don't know.
I laugh that I may not cry.
Someone just wrote, "Ooh, I like the distinction between clouters and fighters for justice."
There is a difference.
Yeah.
And so many of the people I followed because they made me look like if I'm not following you, I'm awful. I must be awful. Turned out to be raging anti-Semites. I had to unfollow a lot of people last year. All of a sudden, after 10/7, they were all in on, well, they do control the media. The Holocaust wasn't that big of a deal. Then all this Farrakhan crap.
Oh, don't give me so. Oh, God.
as you just confirmed, a flood of crazy. Yeah, it's going to be a flood of crazy. And so we also have to stay on target. Stay on target on our mission.
Stay on target.
Yep.
Stay on target.
Never lose the target.
Now we all have Star Wars fans in the room. I feel very good about that. But we have to address what we can. I mean, it's going to be it's just going to be a flood. I don't have
my
floaties for this.
My hope is that whoever becomes chair of the Democratic Party nationally surrounds themselves with a whole cabinet of people that don't look or think like them. I think that is the key to growing the Democratic Party, is surrounding yourself with a room full of people that don't think like you. And I think that's where Democrats fall short. When I was in DuPage and we had a huge turnover, we replaced 6 Republican white men with 6 Democratic white women, and everyone's like, look at our diversity. And I remember being in the room like, oh my God, and
we tend to use diversity to mean everything other than anything other than I work with schools I work with schools that tell me they're really diverse, and they look at it's 98% black. That's diverse isn't the right word for that.
It's not diverse. Democrats, we have to do better. We have to, when we get into the room, we have to include folks that do not look and think like us. And I think that's what has made me personally successful, is where I said, okay, I want to get 8 people that are different religions, different ages, different orientations, and let's work from there. And that's what the Democratic Party needs to do.
Yeah. I also think that oh my God, I'm exhausted already, and it's only
we're not even
January
there
13th.
Yet.
Yeah. There's so much involved in it, right? It is, when we say diverse, what I understand is that we also have to go. I guess I struggle with how to appeal to white, because I think there were young white men who were trying, right? Harry Sisson and I was talking about Aaron Parnas. Aaron doesn't do Aaron Parnas, who's Lev Parnas' son, but he does the breaking news stuff. He isn't necessarily trying to be an influencer. He's literally, I don't know what contacts he has, but I almost feel like it's almost like, well, they're not the right kind of white dudes, or not the right kind. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is that? Is it the angry white dudes? Is it? And so this goes back to the Mark Zuckerberg comment about, as you said, not aggressive enough.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. Then that becomes a tough space to work with somebody if it's aggressive whiteness. Well, and I don't mean being white aggressively. I mean being aggressive.
Thank you for
white.
I think, but you know what? I think there is room for aggression, and I think there's room for it. You can be aggressive without being toxically masculine, and I think it's a fine line.
Tough versus macho.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You can be tough.
Yeah.
You can be tough without being a jerk.
Yes, it's possible.
Okay, to my strong white males, right here.
That would be me.
Yes, we have the president of the strong white males.
Yes, that's me. Right, me.
Yes,
and then, man, don't try to make me a spokesperson, man. Go to a mailing me to your crosses. Don't go nailing me to your crosses.
Yikes. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation with author historian Adam Selzer. You can go to mysteriouschicago.com or Adam Chicago, preferably. AdamChicago.com. He has a book coming out this week, the Trinity and St. Paul Cemetery.
Yeah, Graveyards of Trinity Church in St. Paul's. It's a couple of very old graveyards in New York, the Hamiltons and all of those guys, and a whole lot of real weirdos.
Oh, I gotta have a couple of weirdos.
Everybody back then was weird, frankly.
And also joining us in the studio is Ken Mejia Beal. He is a treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org and support the work they do. We'll be back in a moment on WCPT. Of course, more in a moment. I have to push the right button for all this to happen. There we go.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
We're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I have there was something that's been on my mind today, and it's not national news, so I don't even know. I'm not crazy about drawing attention to a bit of the dumpster fire that's going on in Chicago politics and state politics. I don't know if I want to tell people that we are looking at possibly a budget deficit in the state of Illinois. I'm glad that we got a budget passed in Chicago. However, there's still in negotiations with CPS and CTU and the city of Chicago, and I'm not thrilled with the language that was used by CTU President Stacey Davis Gates. I am the mother of a child who has special needs and has an IEP. She said basically Pedro Martinez was like a special education student that you can't suspend. Yeah. So, and here's the thing, okay, so let me just for a moment. The problem with that is that how dare you, when we are already at a disadvantage when it comes to the programs that are funded within CPS. I mean, it is glaringly obvious that it is not, that these programs and the people who do the support work are prioritized. I'm going to leave it at that, and I also demand more. Anyway, more than an apology. I want to see improvements in our. People are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that their kids can reach their potential, and that was total trash. So
I didn't hear it. I do think CPS as a whole. My dad was a Chicago public school teacher for decades, and there's so many kids that fall through the cracks. So many kids that fall through the cracks, and it has to be better. There has to be a better way. Yeah. There has to be more collaboration. And I think as a whole, there's been a lot of finger pointing for the past 3 to 4 decades. I think everyone should look in the mirror and say, this is what I own. Right. This is my fault. And let's all work together to move past it and just do better.
Yes. Yeah. So that's our 2 cents on what's going on so far in Chicago. Let's turn back to the national stuff because it's way crazier. I mean,
is it?
Well, Chicago's not talking about absorbing Canada, but if Canada wants to absorb Chicago, I mean, we're right there.
I'm down.
Come on now.
We're right there. Like, lower the border, the Wisconsin border back to the original boundaries from 1787, and then we're right connected to Canada. Hey.
You know,
we don't have to make us just a new province. Like, why are we even talking about Canada as the 51st state, not individual provinces becoming states?
Yeah, we don't want all of them. I mean, we don't need Saskatoon.
I would just like my.
I mean, Quebec would probably pull out of this one.
They probably would.
Yeah.
I just want my seniority. If that's the thing, I want to keep my seniority. I was established in 1985. I want to keep that
seniority. We have
I outrank you.
Yes.
No salt, not vinegar on the fries. We outrank you.
I mean, come on.
But we will take the all-dressed chips.
I will take the poutine. I'm just saying that's fine. I'll take the poutine. We have a caller.
And the national anthem. I'll trade them national anthems any day.
You like theirs better?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Steve is on the line. Steve, you're on with Ken Mejia Beal and Adam Selzer. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, everybody. Just to jump back a couple of topics or a topic or so. And this is just from my own personal experience. And to give it some context, I'm a 58-year-old, white, cis, Christian-presenting male. I get plenty of support and plaudits from the Democratic Party.
I know, but
I'm so sick of this. Oh, we haven't slobbered all over the middle-aged white man. Oh, he's upset. The world doesn't center around him anymore, and if we don't make him feel good. Buckle up. We're a big party with a lot of different people, and we're all working together. We're addressing everybody's needs. I'm so sick of this. Oh, we've got to make the white man happy.
As you hear the silence, no one seems to want to argue with you.
It's because you sound so pleasant, Steve. But can I push back just a little bit, Steve?
We're pushing. Okay,
just a little bit. Just a little bit, Steve. As a non-white man, I do want to. Do you think that maybe you feel the way you do because you are over a certain age?
Oh.
It could be because I've been seeing this Republican BS for 45 years.
And I mean this respectfully. What I've learned is when it comes to that feeling that we were talking about earlier, it's a lot of white men under the age of 45 and less that feel that way about the Democratic Party. So it might be an age thing.
Interesting.
Well, then let's talk to all of the women under 45 who've been treated like crap by the Republican Party.
No fight here.
Nope. No fight there.
I mean, again, it's this whole thing of the Democratic Party has not treated young white men badly. They just haven't put them on the pedestal that Trump says they belong on.
Fair.
Yeah, and I think there's a discomfort of, and again, this goes back to a conversation we've been having. I think a lot of folks talk about what Trump harnessed was that sense that something is being taken away from you. That somebody else got something that you deserve. Yes. And that's why you target.
I happened to be out of the country during the 2016 election, and I got back into the office early because I'd come back from Europe and my time clock was all screwed up. So my boss, who's super cool, white, middle-aged Christian male, was like, Steve, I don't get it. All of these friends of mine that I thought were good people are excited about him. What's the deal? And I said, Eric, you got to understand, there's 2 generations of white Christian heterosexual men who have been told, you're always going to be in charge. You're the boss. You get first pick. You're at the head of the line. And they're really angry that now that they're having to share the lines with Jews and blacks and Hispanics and gay people and Muslims, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Trump got elected because he promised them, I'm going to bring you back up to the front of the line, and we're going to be able to treat them like crap again.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
No,
not at all.
And it's
that's
reality. And that's what's been done globally too. Is life is worse because we let all these people in here, these migrants, these people of other religions, and that's what makes it also vulnerable because we are the oldest democracy in this form, but also the more multinational, multiracial, multi-denominational, and people can sort of put themselves into this group and say, well, it's not supposed to look like this. It's supposed to be for white Christians.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the way I look at it, I used to work for a huge company in the finance industry that I will not say their name, but I will say their name in a book that I'm writing that will be out next year. But anyway, we used to have holiday parties, and I would hear the folks that had been with the company for a long time say, oh, my God, it was so much better back in the day.
Yes.
They were called Christmas parties and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's kind of the way America is.
Yes.
Is instead of looking at, like, the reason we had to change, we look at the change. It's like, well, the reason that it's not called a Christmas party is because we celebrate different holidays. Mm-hmm. And the reason that there's a limit is not because women complain too much, is they don't want to be groped. And that some of your jokes are inappropriate. We have to look at... So, yes, I think that we, instead of looking at the change, we have to look at the reason for the change and reevaluate. So,
Well, I mean, I had my first job. Like 20, it was like 30 years ago. I had my first job. Even then, it was like, if they're wearing a Christmas sweater, by all means, say Merry Christmas. Otherwise, go with Happy Holidays. Yeah. It's not like that's new.
Exactly. What were you saying, Steve?
I was. Now I lost it.
Sorry, man.
Oh, because every year there's that debate of, you can't say Merry Christmas. And I'm always like, again, maybe. And my parents were Republicans, but Republicans in New Jersey. And from a very young age, they said, hey, we're Catholic, but not everybody celebrates Christmas. So be thoughtful. If somebody celebrates something else, or just say Happy Holiday.
Yeah, if you don't know what they celebrate.
And again, it's that whole thing of, no, I'm the center of the universe.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
I don't want to have to be nice to somebody else.
Correct. It's something I figured out in school a long time ago. The reason they wanted to post the 10 Commandments wasn't because they thought I'd get something out of it. It was just the government acknowledging that their religion was the right one.
Correct.
But that there was the normal one.
I think we're going to have this conversation after the news as well. Steve, thanks for helping kick off another.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good evening, my friend. Take care. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation with Ken Mejia Beal and Adam Selzer. Joining us at 6:30 will be John Fugelsang. I'm so excited about this morning.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home. I want to say hi to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Joining me in studio is Ken Mejia Beal, the former chair of the DuPage County Dems, now the treasurer of Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org.
You got it, baby.
And support the work that they do. Adam Selzer joins us in studio. He's an author, historian. You can go to adamchicago.com and follow him on Facebook as well.
Yeah,
yes.
and I'll be in Minneapolis this weekend. I'm going to go to Mickey's. I just found out Mickey's is still a thing, actually. It's a diner. But I found this terrific letter to the editor from a Chicago journalist in like the early 1930s. He wrote in and said he had just been in Minneapolis, and they had this place called Mickey's Dunkin' Hour, which encouraged you to dunk your donuts in coffee. And he thought that was great. We should have a place where you dunk your donuts in every major city. And the response from the editor is like, yeah, sure. I'm sure us sophisticated city people will be super into dunking our donuts. Like, got any other winners for us? Don't call us. We'll call you. Dunkin' Donuts.
Have you ever dunked a donut? I've never dunked a donut.
Really? I do it with a nice glazed donut? Yeah.
Never. I've never dunked a donut.
No, it never really occurred to me but obviously Dunkin' Donuts turned out to be a pretty good business plan.
I will say I drink my coffee black.
Okay.
So
like my heart.
Yes, like your heart.
Black as a gym teacher's heart.
Yes.
And that would be okay.
And so when you dump the glazed donut in, especially a nice glaze from Krispy Kreme.
Oh my God.
Heaven. Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop that. Stan's Donut's also very good.
Stan's is great.
I think Stan's and Krispy Kreme both are a thing where the bigger they got, the quality started to dip.
Isn't that the same
Ain't
with
that
everything?
the way with everything? Yeah. I mean, when there were only 3 or 4 stands, it was like, this is my donut. No other donut will do.
And then
then after they started being in museums and everywhere else, they're still pretty good.
Things.
I mean, it's a donut. You can't really screw up a donut that well.
I went to, so in New Orleans, there's a place called Voodoo Donuts or something.
Yeah.
Yes. I just saw that on a reel today. Yes.
I hope they never grow. Because there's one in New Orleans. There's a couple in Austin, Texas, I think. But it is amazing. I hope they stay in the South. They never grow. It's like all their donuts are stuffed with all this amazing. It's just so good.
It just came up on a reel on my For You page on the soon-to-be defunct or not available TikTok. We don't know yet.
Right, yeah. Huh.
There might be a stay, whatever. But I'm following a lot of like content creators because I'm going to New Orleans on Monday, and I couldn't be more excited.
It's amazing.
I'm not saying I'm going to be drunk and high at the same time every day. Do they have
Wait, you can do both?
I went to a fancy donut place. Last time I was in Minneapolis. I'm going to see if I can find what this place was. There was a fancy donut place there. My friend and I went to 9th and Hennepin looking for donuts. There's a great Tom Waits song that I was down there at 9th and Hennepin where all the donuts have names that sound like prostitutes. And isn't that everywhere, though? Like Long John, Cinnamon, Sprinkles.
Yeah, right.
Well,
and
now
of course,
that you're saying it like
glazed.
Yeah, exactly. It's partly the tone there.
Cream filled.
What?
Jelly.
Censor. Where is the censor?
I'm talking about donuts.
Yes, we thought you were.
Oh, it was Glam Doll Donuts.
Ooh.
And at Glam Doll, they did in fact have names that sounded like sex workers. What were they here?
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's see, they had names such as Darling, Vanilla Starlet, Chocolate Starlet, Flirty Frenchie, Sweetheart, Pucker Up.
And this is no longer available. I feel like this is
Glam Bun.
Nice.
Oh, I want a Glam Bun.
Bam, which is made with Fruity Pebbles.
Of course it is.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. There's a place in the neighborhood. I don't know if Vaughn's still does this, but not Vaughn's. I'm sorry, Vaughn's. Also, you're fantastic. I love Vaughn's. But Highway House has chicken tenders that's dragged in Fruity Pebbles and fried. And I'm just saying.
That sounds.
It's good.
Like a stoner's
From
dream.
sea to shining sea.
So good. I don't know if they still have it on their menu, but it was something
they're bringing it back.
I'm talking about.
It made me very happy during the pandemic.
My sweet America. I'm like channeling Ray Charles now here. This sounds so magnificent.
Oh my God.
That sounds so magnificently American.
Since you're talking about cereal briefly and breakfast, but I have to tell you, I didn't grow up on sweet cereals.
Of course you didn't.
Like when I went to my friend's house and they had Cocoa Pebbles, oh my God, you could make the milk chocolate? Come on now.
Do you know why you didn't?
Why?
It's because your mom was probably not from America.
No.
That's why.
Yeah, my mom's from Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to have like those huge like the wheat like packets, like a big pallet
Shredded wheat?
Yeah, the shredded wheat, but it was like a big
that hurts your mouth.
brick in it. Oh my god. Like what
hurts
was
your mouth.
Well, there were some some things that were just wrong. I mean, like cornflakes was the fanciest and then like would just douse it with sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
So when I went to college, you guys, the cereal station, are you kidding me?
It's the best.
You know how I do the freshman 10? It was a freshman 25 because I would eat and then I found out you could put it on ice cream.
Yes.
And we had a fountain machine, and so I would have like these sweet cereals for breakfast, and then for dinner I would eat everything that was there because I'm like, I'm paying for this, I may as well eat it all, and with ice cream and Cocoa Pebbles and Captain Crunch. Are you kidding me? And then I would be like, well, that sucked. I'm gonna have Grog's Pizza. So that's how my days went in Champaign.
I ever since the legalization of marijuana here in the state of Illinois, I want to clear that up. I love Cap'n Crunch on top of cookie dough ice cream.
Oh, that sounds good.
When I indulge.
Yeah, well, you see, drugs just create this false sense of reality where you feel like you can actually appreciate Girl Scout cookies and get some actual sleep for once.
Fair.
You know what? You've actually brought up something
Fair.
this actually brings something up that I wish, so we talk about the last 4 years, and I wish that President Biden, had done something to legalize marijuana federally.
We all do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, here we are now we are, a lot of people are vulnerable to the fact that it's still federally illegal in a class. I can't remember the class.
Well,
I think they did change the class.
They did change the class. And, I this is what I foresee happening. And when this happens, feel free to at me. I think Trump might do it.
Do you think there's enough billionaires lining his pockets to get that?
RFK is like all in on this kind of stuff.
I think it might finally happen.
God, I know the trade-offs of RFK.
Yeah, we've always known that it was going to be have to be a Republican who pushed that through.
Yep, and I think it's going to happen. I think that Trump is going to probably at the 12th hour build the base, get those young voters in. I think he's going to do it.
I've been expecting he was going to do that for a long time, though he never has.
Happen.
What you're telling me is polio is going to come back, but at least you can be high through it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Just trying to find the...
Listen, I'm not okay with polio, but...
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll get our fun out of it while we can. Take what you can.
I can't. There's
AI is going to take your job, but at least it'll give you a great sex robot.
Yes.
What?
I've heard. My friend told me.
Oh, God.
I am not his friend. We just met today.
I don't mean you. You're all absolved from this, but my friends told me.
Oh, boy.
Well, no, I think marijuana should be legal. I think the problem is federally they haven't found a way to tax it properly. So I believe that under the Trump administration, they will figure all this out because there's enough states at play that they can look at.
The trouble is the idea of the Trump coalition will figure this out.
I know.
There's a disconnect between point A to point B.
Listen, there's a disconnect between the election results and today, but here we are.
You bring up something that a lot of folks...
I don't think any of the economic anxiety people thought war with Canada was what they were voting for.
Oh my God!
All the people who voted for lower prices of eggs and gas are instead
he's already said he can't do anything about all the stuff.
If you were following news at all critically, you already knew he wasn't going to be bringing these prices down.
Of course, I knew that, but there's not. All the people who were like, it's the FAFO portion of whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're ever going to FO.
No.
Sorry, for folks who don't know, fart around and find out.
It's
not
a lot
farting.
easier to trick people than to convince them they've been tricked.
Yep. Because once you've been tricked, it's hard to admit that you'll
keep throwing money after being tricked.
Yeah. Which reminds me,
we should all be taking advantage of this. It is morally wrong to let stupid people keep their money.
Adam, you want to be my campaign manager? I'm running for president 2028.
Can you imagine?
I'll be old enough to run.
Oh, boy.
Well, I actually was on Patty's old show, Lunch in in 1992, I went around the whole middle school lunchroom saying, vote for me in 2016, vote for me in 2016.
Why did you not run?
Well, we had it unpacked on my show.
I went on Patty's, after the Iowa caucus, I went on Patty's show in 2016 to concede. I kind of wish I hadn't done it now, but you know, at the same time, that's a 24-year joke set up. So even if I didn't get any votes, that's pretty good that I got to go on national radio for a 24-year joke set up from middle school.
Ken, as we continue to build our friendship, I'll tell you a little bit of background of my friendship with Adam. So we met in, was it 2000? I want to say 12.
14, I think. Probably 14.
So I was just starting out at the WGN, and the producer there had booked Adam. I think it had to be, you know,
it was for Ghost stuff, I'm sure.
It was for Yes, it was for Ghost stuff, and he was very, not just endearing, but there were elements to what I asked him about the serial killers, because he would do like H.H. Holmes, and I was like, he told me that he has 100-year.
That's not a hard rule, but still, I tend to do stuff that are older.
Right, out of respect for people who might still be
I have
family
a too-soon rule, yeah.
And I deeply appreciated that, so we became friends. And he was a regular on my show, and also joined me in the stairwells of the Tribune Tower as I trained for the fight for air climb.
Yeah, we climbed some stairs. Yep.
And I still have videos of that. And he is an early bird. He gets up early in the morning, still would stay up till 2 in the morning with me. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And then the night of the election, so me and James Vickery, who's a comedian who has moved to Los Angeles, and it's so many things going on with his life, but James and I were literally at a tacos and Skittles party, because you remember people were saying if she wins there's going to be a taco truck on every corner, and one of the Trump juniors said that if you let refugees into the country it's like having a bowl of Skittles, and one of them
I remember that.
Right. So we all thought things were going to go better for Hillary Clinton. And on our way to the studio, it was crazy that night, driving from the northwest side of Chicago to the Tribune Tower. Like, there was a limo that cut us off in traffic because I was driving, and there was a woman sticking out like outside of the sunroof going, woo! And me and James were like, this is what the next 4 years is going to chaos, right?
Yeah.
So we walk into the Tribune Tower, and not scheduled to be on my show, but Adam Selzer was sitting outside of my studio.
Yeah, I just needed to be with friends.
He started walking from his house, like in Rogers.
I wasn't in Rogers Park. I was in the West Loop. It was about a mile and a half walk down to Tribune Tower from there. But yeah, at a certain point, you know, my wife doesn't like to talk about politics too much, so I just started walking to Tribune Tower like I know I'll have friends there. But Patty was on late that night.
Yeah, they bumped me.
They bumped her, so I just kind of sat there surrounded by all those quotes about the free press that they have carved onto the wall of Tribune Tower.
Yeah,
which is historically it was the paper that arguably got Lincoln nominated, but then it was an arch conservative paper in the 20th century, etc.
Yep. So we were on until I was on as Donald took the stage to claim victory.
Jesus.
And I stayed in the green room.
And we were just in the green room for a long time.
Yeah, I was drinking rum straight out of the bottle.
I believe it.
But that was the night I decided to run for office. So just coming back full circle on, like, because I was like, okay, if this guy can become the president of the United States,
anything's possible.
Come on now.
Anything's possible.
Well, because we were also in the middle of a Rauner administration who had been, we were the canaries canaries in the cave.
It was a mess.
Oh my God. I mean, and we couldn't convince anybody that what was happening in Illinois was going. I mean, and not on that scale. Like, it was much worse nationally.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
But everyone, if you remember, was like, "Well, he's a good businessman.
Yeah,
he can run the state of Illinois."
I remember I was on your show the day he came down the escalator, and that's what all the calls were like. Well, he's such a good businessman, and we were all like cracking up about the whole notion.
I said, "Be very careful." I remember getting a really angry call because I said, "Be very careful because this man could be the next president of the United States."
You know, I knew he was going to win from the beginning. I knew it. I said, he's got this. He has charisma. He has people have already. I think there's added added bonus when you've already been inside the living rooms of a lot of people. And the thing that politicians always mess up on is they ask for the vote without getting to know folks.
Yeah,
Donald Trump was in our living room, not asking us for anything.
And you know, I remember people making fun of him and saying he wasn't really as rich as he said he was.
Who cares?
In 1990, when I was 9.
Yeah.
9 or 10. I turned 10 that year, but I was in like third grade. We were already ripping on Trump over this kind of stuff. Like 25 years before he came down the escalator.
The first time I even heard his name, I was watching an episode of The Golden Girls with my grandma, and there was a B. Arthur joke about
amazing
about
how many
about how horrible he is, but. The point is, he won, and the sky's the limit for the rest of us.
Yeah.
The limit is the sky.
But to your point, though, he was in our, and this is
he was in our living rooms.
Well, he was in our living rooms. He was in our psyche, which also what I was talking a little bit about Joe Rogan, who Fear Factor, and before Fear Factor was on news radio with Phil Hartman, and sort of like, oh, that's that guy from that thing. It's kind of like when people go to a comedy show, like, that person was on that show, regardless of whether or not what they now do in a club or what they do on a podcast. Or that somehow, or what they did as a businessman, now somehow, wow, well, I know that guy from that thing.
Yes.
It all is linked together that way. The reason I felt that he might win, and what was weighing heavily on my mind that night when he came down the escalator was 2 weeks before he announced. So my son Declan is severely disabled, intellectually and physically, and he went to a wonderful school here on the Northwest Side. And the 2 weeks before he decided he was going to run, it was vandalized with, and I'm going to use the word that I hate using, but if I soft pedal it, people are like, whoa, why don't you say, well, what's the R word? It was kill all the retards with swastikas on the buildings and on a school for kids with disabilities. And I had seen for a couple of years, because I had so many people in my circle that were conservatives and Republicans, the kinds of things they said about Obama, like having him hang from trees in cartoons. And like, I remember seeing a turd in a toilet and it was had his face. I like all these things. I'm like, no, this is here. And someone just messaged something about South Dakota and Montana and Idaho, and like, if white guys want to feel safe, they should go to those places. But I'm just saying, because I'm following a lot of people on TikTok that I want to see where they're going to go next.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there's some breaking news. China is discussing the sale of TikTok to Elon Musk.
Sweet Jesus.
Could this have ended any other way? As Jeff Lazarus over on Blue Sky, the husband of my friend Rachel Lazarus, who's a political scientist.
Oh, my God.
Could this have ended any other way? This is a twist that I really should have seen coming, and I feel really stupid for not having seen it coming.
I didn't see this coming, and I feel like I'm on part 18,000 of a miniseries I don't want to be a part of.
But to your point, so why isn't Elon Musk considered not an American citizen? Like he's not a national.
Why? Let's not play this game.
Okay, let's take a break here and take some deep breaths. And so I guess we know what we're talking to John Fugelsang about.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, let's take a break here. We're in studio with Adam Selzer, author, historian. You can go to adamchicago.com for all the great work that he does. Ken Mejia Beal, he is the treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org and support the wonderful work they do there. We'll come back and, just process of course, this is happening.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Hey everybody! We're not seeing too many confirmations. I always go to Aaron Parnas, as I mentioned earlier. Aaron Parnas on TikTok, and now he's going to be on Substack. And apparently, there's some other app called Red Note. But I'm not seeing anyone else report just yet about the possibility of Elon Musk buying TikTok, that China will be selling it to. But it doesn't mean it's not happening.
I mean, it's not outside of the realm.
Oh.
Yeah, it just seems like such a logical next move now that you think about it. It's like when you get to the end of an Agatha Christie novel, and you go, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It was Professor Plum in the study with the wrench. Like, it's all right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, in a few moments, we're going to have John Fugelsang on, who can talk us through a lot of stuff, too. With humor and heart.
Or he and I will just talk Dylan the whole time. Whatever.
Well, that works too. Now, are you? Do you follow? Do you? How do I put this? Because I'm such a musically challenged individual. Do you listen to a lot of Bob Dylan? Yeah, I don't know music very well. I could not name. It took me a while to name a Bob Dylan song.
It was kind of a joke. You couldn't name 5 Bob Dylan songs.
Well,
I could not. We were in the car.
That's okay. Yeah.
I love music. could not name a Bob Dylan song if you put a gun to my head right now.
Well, that's all right.
By the way, Bloomberg is reporting that China discusses sale of TikTok to Musk as one possible option, and that was 19 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
just one possible option. It might just be something they're throwing out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like, of course, that's where this is going.
Because we're in the hell state.
Yeah. Well, will he please just snort too much ketamine one time? I don't want to wish. Well, the Talmud says we should wish for people to get better, not for them to die, but I just don't have that much faith.
That was actually a storyline on, I'm watching Dexter New Blood.
How is that? Sorry.
No.
Well, because I'm a big Sarah Michelle Gellar fan.
It is amazing.
Okay, so
Dexter,
I did not watch the original. I didn't watch the other Dexter.
Dexter,
it seemed too grim.
I'm a huge Dexter fan. It's never too grim. Dexter New Blood, check it out. It's amazing. And I also have a thing for Christian Slater.
And Christian Slater's in it? Sorry, are they just targeting Gen X? What is happening in this?
I'm a millennial.
What pitch did I just hit? I apologize.
Is Christian Slater, is Patrick Dempsey, is Sarah Michelle Gellar, is Christina
Milian. Did you say Patrick Dempsey?
I said Patrick Dempsey.
McDreamy's in it?
Listen, so I sit there with my partner and we watch it, and halfway through he just looks over at me and he goes, "You're not even watching. You're just watching Christian Slater and Patrick Dempsey." And I said, "You shut your mouth and let me live."
Okay, well, I'll be checking out The Young Adventures of Dexter. What is it called?
New Blood. New Blood. It's amazing.
It should have been The Young Adventures of, because that's too.
That sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode.
It's funny. Do you see? That's why
there's nothing funny about that.
You darn kids! I would have gotten away with the murder. Okay, this got dark. I apologize, everyone involved.
Did it? Was that dark?
I don't know. Okay.
We're in upside down land where dark is light and light is dark.
Let's take a break here because John Fugelsang will join us in just a moment. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Adam Selzer, and Ken Mejia Beal as we drive it home on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. More after this.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And hello to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. As many of you know, Stephanie Miller's tour, the Sexy Liberal Saves the World tour culminates this Saturday in D.C., the 18th. And there is a pay-per-view, so you've got to check out the sexyliberal.com. And one of the incredible comedians on the show, okay, I'm going to dork out again, but it's John Fugelsang joins us on the air.
Hey,
John, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Oh, guys, thank you so much for lowering your show down to my level. What a pleasure. Isn't it great? We can't afford eggs. Let's buy Greenland. That's America. I love it. I did not think we could have a greater metaphor for America than one of Elon's micro-penis trucks exploding in front of a Trump hotel. But, friends, I think the greatest metaphor for America is that we are about to inaugurate a racist on MLK's holiday. It doesn't get more American than that.
Yeah.
We can all go home now. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
No, we found a better one. There's a place by here that does.
Not a bad thing. Guys, not a bad thing. That's America, right? This is the same country that you know, slave owners who wanted to be free. This is the same country that the same document that says all men are created equal says merciless Indian savages, right? America's always been these two things. Always. And on Monday the 20th, everyone gets to choose. Do I want to be on the MLK side or do I want to be on the comb over Caligula side? It's totally fine.
But there's a place
talking yourself off a ledge tour.
But there's a place by here that does chicken fingers with fruity pebbles on them, though.
Yeah.
So that may be the most American thing yet.
Well, I'm glad Trump will have a place to eat in the
May he eat them all.
What are your plans? Well, I know you'll be in D.C. on the 18th. Are you getting there early? There's a People's March, and then, of course, a victory rally the next day. There's so much for you to do on this trip to D.C.
Yeah.
I know. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I mean, honestly, like some folks were really kind of down and thought like, oh, why are you still doing the show if it's going to be Trump inaugurated? I had one guy say to me, no, man, it's not funny anymore, okay? Like, seriously, it's not funny anymore. And I was like, I know. why it's more important than ever.
Tell me you're not Jewish without telling me you're not Jewish.
I made a decision to go to New Orleans on Inauguration Day and then plan to be drunk and or high for 4 days. I haven't decided yet.
Do both.
Or both.
Very nice. Well, I'll be here in D.C. looking under the boot heels of people to see if I can see the Scarboroughs or Elon Musk or whoever else is groveling. Oh, Lindy Lee, I didn't see you under a rock. Wow. Now that we're in the Weasley Surrender Chronicles period of the Great Capitulation, let's have some fun with it. Look, Donald Trump's not going to suddenly become a good guy. He's not going to become smart or honest. He's not going to become less racist, and his previous crimes and corruptions and stealing from people with fraud universities and foundations and his sexual assault of women aren't going to be erased. This is going to be a bloody mess, and it's going to be 4 years that I'm calling the We Told You show. And it's really important for liberals to not be smug bastards, even though it's going to feel really good every day.
This is what I'm struggling with. So walk me through the We Told You show tour without sounding smug, because I don't know that I have that muscle.
I don't have that muscle
of not sounding smug.
Listen, you guys are all smarter than me. You know it's never going to go back to being the way it was a resistance before. It's going to be a different kind of opposition. And right now, our friends who are Democrats are still, many of them, finger pointing and circular firing squadding and burying their heads in the sand and blame gaming. I would say by January 21st, I think everyone's going to be smacked back into the present moment and realize what we have to deal with here. And I have an incredible amount of faith in the American people and in the fact that these guys are not good at being fascists. They are going to screw up. Bush and Cheney weren't good at being fascists. That's the greatest blessing of America, is that our fascists, the stupid is always greater than the evil. I call them dim shady, and it always works out this way. So they're going to try all this bad stuff, but their incompetence will be greater than their evil, and that incompetence has been what saved our republic from the beginning.
Wow.
Okay, I do feel better. He was right about talking me off the ledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm off the ledge.
Are you off the ledge?
I want a T-shirt, John. Can you trademark that?
Look, here's what it is. During the pandemic, here's how it is. Like, America, view America as a woman who was dating an awful, abusive guy. And then during the pandemic, she finally kicked him out. And she got stronger. Mm-hmm. And she got healthier. And she got better looking over 4 years. She got a lot better with her finances over 4 years. She began to heal. But something happened. We've seen this before. And America got back together with her abusive ex. He came back, new promises. He promised her cheaper groceries and 11 million deportations, and he gaslit her all over again, and she fell for it. It's tragic, but she's going to find out what's really going on, and there was no mandate. Can I remind you, he lost the majority vote in 2016, 2020, and 24. That's a mandate. When the majority of people who show up to vote against you 3 elections in a row, that's the only mandate we got here.
Now, you have, going back to the illegal immigrants or undocumented or people who, now, because there are states like Missouri is offering $1,000 for people to report somebody.
How about simplify and just refer to them as people Donald Trump hires? People Donald Trump hires because he doesn't want to pay Americans a real living wage.
Right.
That's the only story here.
Yes, that's it. Nobody's going to.
These Republicans wanted undocumented border crossings to stop. They would start locking up the white people who do all the hiring. There is a gigantic help wanted sign in our border. No Republicans want to take it down. They like having an exploitable, marginalized labor force that works backbreaking labor under minimum wage so Americans aren't asking for decent living wages and benefits. The Republican Party is never going to chase this labor force away. There will not be 11 million deportations. There won't be 500,000 deportations. It's all a racist scam. They sell the racism to the voters, but they like the donations from those job creators. They're never going to take down the help wanted sign. And if they did start locking these people up, they'd have to start with Donald Trump, the only guy who ran for president this year in either party who has hired undocumented aliens in 2 different centuries to save a buck and avoid paying a worker in America.
Yeah,
it's all a scam.
By the way, I had to. Someone just texted at me. Trump won the 24 popular vote. Folks, he won less than 50%.
Plurality, it was less than 50%.
Less than 50% of the vote. 3 elections in a row. The majority of these lazy Americans who showed up to vote said no to Trump's agenda. 3 elections in a row.
Oh, my God, there's so many things happening. Now, what are your thoughts? I don't know if you saw this news that Bloomberg and some other outlets are reporting that the owners of TikTok are considering sale of TikTok to Elon Musk. Have you heard this news yet?
Yeah, I mean, who's leaked that? We'll see. I don't really see China doing that. I also think that now that Trump is being bribed by China, he's not going to be against TikTok. He already has flip-flopped on that.
He's flipped on that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if Biden does wind up banning it, watch for Trump to bring it back in no time. Because, again, Donald Trump literally had a secret Chinese bank account while he was serving as president. Donald Trump was literally being paid by the Chinese government while he was serving as president. And our media, for whatever reason, is not allowed to talk about these things because it's not as interesting as Blake Lively's lawsuit with Justin Baldoni. So, I mean, he's going to do whatever China wants. He's an authoritarian puppet.
Yeah, no, it is. I do feel like we by the way, this is Monday School with John Fugelsang.
Yes.
Yes. But by the way, the show this weekend will be a lot funnier than me drunkenly ranting. But here, I want you to know, Jamie Raskin is going to join us this weekend on the big show, and we're very happy to have Congressman Raskin joining us for another sexy liberal show. I believe George Conway is going to be there. Olivia Troy, Officer Harry Dunn will be there. It's going to be a riot. And me, Hal Sparks, and Frangela doing stand-up, and that's at the Warner in D.C. this weekend. If you can't be in D.C. because you're in Chicago like a sane person, if you're in D.C., come, because every decent person in D.C. who can spell the word "your" correctly will be at our show that night.
I want to be in that crowd. That's a good crowd to be in. I'm just saying.
Well, go to meethook.com, MEET, hook.com to watch the pay-per-view, but I think you're going to be having too much fun in New Orleans for this.
I am going to have a lot of fun. I have plans. I have a lot of plans. You also have a book coming out this summer, Separation of Church and Hate. I haven't seen that much Christian stuff lately about what God wants, although I'm not on that side of TikTok or other social medias, but I'm not seeing a lot in regards to what this white Christian nationalism has in mind for their eggs being cheaper.
Well, let me tell you, what they did is they elected Caligula. And the last time the fake Christians voted for Caligula, God sent a plague. I'm watching these bird flu numbers very closely, children. I'm becoming more of an Old Testament Christian every year watching these rat bastards because, the very act of electing Donald Trump, I mean, there is no – I don't want to get too preachy here, but my book's full title is Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Taking the Bible Back from Fascists, Fundamentalists, and Flock-Fleecing Frauds. Those are the three core constituencies of Christians that put Caligula back into power, and they fight for, let me check, 0 of the actual things Jesus talked about. You know what really screwed us up forever in this country? They were able to convince Christians that they should vote against everything Jesus ever talked about to ban abortion, which Jesus never talked about. Right. And that's it. Abortion was the issue that destroyed the actual teachings of Christ. And fortunately, MAGA's never read the book, so they won't know what a woke cuck Jesus turned out to be.
Mm-hmm. I heard all of these same things from heavy metal singers in the 90s. Heavy metal singers were right about these fundamentalist guys.
Yep.
All of them. None of them. They all fight for stuff that they think is in the Bible, like being cruel to transgender children or persecuting migrants or, G'ing women by the pee. I don't know. Hating gay people, forcing women to be pregnant by rape against their will. But the actual stuff that Jesus commands, Matthew 25, and here's where I'm going to lose all the hip people. Matthew 25, the judgment of nations. Like the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' Woodstock. Matthew 25 is his Live Aid. He goes global, and he says in this piece who's going to heaven and who's not. Jesus gives his criteria for who's a follower of his, and he says it. He says, this is the one where did you welcome me? Well, I was hungry. Did you feed me? I was thirsty. And then the people who care for him did. They said, when did we see you thirsty or homeless? When you didn't do it for the least of us, you didn't do it for me. Jesus' marching orders are this. Individuals and nations must take care of the poor. Individuals and nations must take care of the sick. Individuals and nations must be kind to those in prison. And individuals and nations must welcome the stranger. And that's it. Jesus gives his marching orders in 4 things. Nothing about abortion, nothing about how you scream at women outside clinics, nothing about how your religion's better than the others or how often you go to church. He gave 4 rules: the poor, the sick, the prisoner, the immigrant. And MAGA can't wait to crap on all 4.
This is what I struggle with because I have a very complicated religious background. I think we talked about it before. I was raised.
I think we all do.
I was raised Mormon, baptized Mormon, and then confirmed Lutheran, and got married in the Catholic Church. Oh, see, there you go. Okay. And my mom was a Buddhist briefly. Anyway,
So the Catholic Church must have seemed really laid back and liberal to you at the time.
I know. I was like, they get snacks. Although I will say that at the Lutheran Church, like, it was like a cognac for the body and blood. Oh, the blood was very tasty, a little sweet. I know, it was delicious. I love being an acolyte because they let girls be acolytes at the time in the 80s. At any rate, what I have finally, I feel like I'm glad that I lived long enough to understand, because I'll be honest with you, I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown when I found out there were atheists. Like, I had no idea. I had never seen one until I dated one in college. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that
like,
freakish?
what is wrong with you?
No, that wasn't.
Then I realized that the atheists were some of the best Christians. And
Absolutely.
Christians were some of the most godless people. But go on.
But I was terrified because the idea that there might not be a heaven or an afterlife, because in the Mormon Church you're taught about spending eternity with your family, like that whole having gathering righteous souls and all that stuff. Yeah. I had never met anybody who didn't believe in heaven, or at least didn't talk about it. But what I've learned since then, to your point, is I believe in the teachings of Christ, but this religion stuff it's insane.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers. Yeah, it's kind of what my book's about. That's why I can't wait to be banned in Florida. But yeah, I mean,
it doesn't take much these days.
No.
But you don't get any.
When Rome took over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The books of mine that sold like 12 copies have been banned in Florida. They're on a list with another 1,400 books, so you don't get any publicity out of it anymore.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, man. Well, I'm still trying. Don't fault the kid for trying. It's only my first time.
But yeah, I mean, we really have it's always been about control and manipulation. I mean, we look at the Crusades, the wars, all the things where people have been slaughtered, taken advantage of, the plundering basically of humans, of land, of governments, and it's just, and the fact that, like, again, to your point about Trump being Caligula, I mean, it still astounds me. I'll never stop being surprised. It's probably better to continue to be surprised, right? I mean,
yes.
Right?
I think so.
I think.
I mean, what do you mean by surprise? Like, you mean like wake up every morning in a sense of dread of what racist stuff would the president say today? You understand what happened to me in 2017? I was raising a toddler while my country was electing one. Do you understand? Everything we tell a boy not to do. Don't lie. Respect women. Do your homework. Don't be racist. Don't launder money for the Russians with New York real estate. Everything we tell a child not to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was telling the story earlier about I was on the air on WGN radio. I was a host on overnights, and I had to be on the air when he took the stage. And Ken and I were both talking about how I thought he was going to win until the day before. I joined the White Pants Suit Nation. White Suit Nation. And I bought a white suit, which I'm never going to wear again because I wore it again this year at the DNC.
You sure did.
On election night, so that's probably not a good idea. But anyway, not my fault.
No mojo there.
But I had told my son, I finally felt like surely this country wasn't going to let this happen. And as I tucked him into bed, he was like, I think he was 12. I was like, it's going to be okay. We're going to wake up and everything's going to be fine. I was telling folks I stayed in the green room and drank rum straight out of the bottle because I didn't know what I was going to tell him when I got home. Because I
don't remember what I was drinking in the green room, but I remember it was a lot of it. I had walked there so I could, I stumbled home.
I was drinking Franzia and yelling at everyone when they said, we're out, to tip it.
Right.
Tip it.
Well,
you got to tip it and tap it.
Wow. Well, I will say this time around, I'm following people who say that Democrats and liberals need to start working out. What are your preparations for the next 4 years, John?
Who, me? I mean, well, my book is my Project 2025, but my preparations for the next 4 years really are, I'm not going to say his name as much.
Okay.
Smart.
And I think we all know a lot of nice liberal people who found just the horror and a reason for being, and I was never interested in that. I grew up in New York. We've always known that Donald Trump was a fraud. I mean, New Yorkers know that he's just like this gauche, trashy thing that he's like Pizza Rat. You understand? Like, for New Yorkers, like, he's that thing. He's our tourist attraction. And so I'm going to try to be nice to people. I'm going to try to be kind to people. When it comes to Trump supporters, I don't hate anyone. I'm not good enough to hate anybody. So I like to just ask questions, rather than fight. I just like to ask them questions like, where was Barack Obama born? Things like that. What I'm going to remember to do is here's the thing. It's easy to just lock yourself in your room and give up and give into despair, and that's not living, and that's not resisting, and that's not liberal, and that's not American. Despair is privilege.
Yes.
If you could stay home and hide from the world and shut down your life, then you must be really lucky and really rich. The rest of us have got to get out there and live and just try to be a good person. Like the same stuff we'd be fighting for if Harris was president is the same stuff we're still fighting for. So just get out there, and America needs good people. America needs to be reminded that there are decent, empathetic people who care. So be that person and restore somebody else's faith. If you've lost all hope, then give somebody else hope. And whatever you do, don't watch the inauguration. You don't have to watch it. You don't want to.
No, geez, I'll be in a car. Thank goodness.
Special on Sirius XM that night. We are not going to talk about it. Although I am looking forward to seeing Carrie Underwood's sing her hit "Jesus Take the Finger" because that'll be a real good.
Oh man! All right, so tell folks about catching your show as well as one more time with the live stream for the Sexy Liberal Tour saves. Wait, are we still saving America? We're doing whatever we can in DC on Saturday.
Yeah, well, my show is on Sirius XM. I do the evening programming on Progress. Y'all are invited anytime, by the way, to come and make mischief with us. And then my show is also a free podcast, the John Fugelsang podcast, but you have to be able to spell Fugelsang. I'm sorry. I tried to make it different, but I'm Danish. And then the big show this weekend with Jamie Raskin, who I don't know if you've ever seen him do stand-up. He's freaking hilarious, okay? The guy's Christopher Walken is crazy. But
that's amazing.
Jamie Raskin's going to be joining us this weekend for the last date of our 2024 Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour. And again, it's going to be at the Warner Theater in New York and in D.C. with myself, Hal Sparks, the amazingly hilarious African-American comedy duo Frangela, and, of course, with Stephanie Miller. And our guests will be George Conway, Olivia Troy, Officer Harry Dunn, and, of course, Congressman Jamie Raskin, with more to be announced. And you can go to watch the pay-per-view live stream on sexyliberal.com or at Meathook, MEET, hook.com.
Love it. And folks can pre-order your book, Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Taking Back the Bible from Fundamentalist, Fascist, and Flock-Fleecing Frauds. Where's the best place
I like making people say it.
I know, it's a lot.
It's an awesome title.
I stumbled. I'm going to be better at next time. I was trying to be fast. And
the best place to order that is, of course, through your local independent bookstore if you don't want to help evil billionaires and their crappy websites.
And but the publishers also, Simon & Schuster, have more information on their site, but also local bookstores. Go tell them that you want it so that they have it in stock when it becomes available.
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for Monday School with John. We really appreciate it. The ledge, the window, I have 1 foot off the ledge and 1 foot on the, I'm just going to.
Oh, my God. Listen, I'm just so delighted to sit and talk to a few people who aren't going to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee, kiss the
No, we're not.
I'll tell you.
We're not. Well,
they're all down there licking the boot, and the boot tastes like Scott Jennings' soul. So thank you guys.
Well, I have to say this before we let you go. We met at the DNC, and I'm a very shy and I'm a very humble person, and you kind of lectured me about being so shy and so humble. And you told me to talk about my attributes and all that stuff. I just want you to know I've been doing that, sir.
Nice.
And it has been amazing. So thank you for that little pep talk.
I hope I wasn't rude, but I think I quoted the Bible to you. I said, don't keep your light under a bushel. Go out there and be awesome.
You remember. That's exactly what you said. Yes.
I remember the quote. I remember. I was literally, there's a lot of F word, too. I was swearing nonstop. Don't worry, but I'm pretty sure I quoted the Bible.
You did. It was awesome. But thank you. I've been doing that, and it's worked. So thank you so much.
Again.
Thank you. Perhaps you can
John,
direct that back to me for my crippling depression sometimes. Thank you.
And for my end, thanks for coming on Dylan Fans for Harris. We really loved having you on that. And
how much fun was that? Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. I felt so honored being a comedian invited to be on the Dylan, because I'm a Dylan freak. Like, I've seen Bob Dylan enough times live to end a marriage. You know what I mean? Like,
Same.
I'm in my
Same.
60s.
I did the whole UK tour during the election. I figured I just don't want to be in the country that particular day. And I will say, as we mentioned on the live stream, we don't really know exactly what his politics are. Since then, I've been in his notebooks in Tulsa, and I have a much better idea. But the night of the election in Edinburgh, over the intro to Every Grain of Sand, he just said, we'll just play here every night from now on. Maybe we ain't going back.
Nice. Wow. I get that right. Yeah.
Now, that's how I felt in Edinburgh that day, too.
Contrarian. Yeah. Bob's politics is contrary. Yeah. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed.
Right, but he's also there's a lot of stuff in the notebooks about corporations and things about right wingers that I can't repeat on the air too.
There you go.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, folks, check out JohnFugelsang.com. Tell me everything with John Fugelsang. Thank you so much, John, for joining us. And
oh my God, I love CPT. Anytime, like you guys lower your standards enough to let me on the air.
Come on.
Well,
you're letting me on.
And by the way, if Elon Musk can do for America what he did for Twitter, this whole country should be a Nazi chat room by next Friday. So no worries.
Okay, I'm back on the ledge.
I'm jumping.
It's going to be okay. Listen, don't forget, stop and smell the train wreck, people. Stop and smell the train wreck.
That I can appreciate.
And get yourself some chicken fingers with Fruity Pebbles.
There you go.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz is out of Congress, and the report came out, and his followers can't spell OAN. Smile. It's still funny. There's goodness out there.
Oh, man. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. This helped a lot.
Happy New Year, kids.
Thanks, John.
Happy New Year. I guess I can't say that. That doesn't feel right. More. I will wrap up when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal with Adam Selzer and Ken Mejia Beal.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
People did work hard in this election. Millions of Americans volunteered. They canvassed. They donated. They went door to door. And because of that work, we are not helpless in the face of an incoming administration that promises chaos, cruelty, cupidity, and callousness.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Well, thank you to John Fugelsang for joining us tonight. Thank you to all our listeners and all of our friends who called and texted. I mentioned this last week. Some folks, sometimes I'll have a listener on the line who says something, and people will call or text about, like, well, that was wrong or whatever. Calling into a radio show is really, really hard. It's harder than you think it is. I don't like calling into radio shows. When I'm a guest on the phone, I get nervous.
Me too.
It's harder. Well, than sitting in studio.
I liked it better when I was a kid, and they would let me say, like, the number 4 song tonight is Soul to Soul Back to Life here on Q102.
Oh, you just showed your age a little bit.
Soul to Soul.
I like that.
Come on.
I like it. The website for Youth Outlook, again, is youth-outlook.org.
Yes, and follow me at KenMejiaBeal.com and Ken Mejia Beal and sign up for the newsletter. Is going to be awesome.
And AdamChicago.com.
AdamChicago.com. On Thursday night, we're talking about Frank Lloyd Wright's Chicagoland buildings and the some interesting and mostly so uninteresting that they become interesting people who hired him to build houses here.
I did not realize there was one in Rogers Park.
There's the Emil Bach housing. Emil Bach sold bricks for a living. But there's a plaque in front of it that says that the building reflects Frank Lloyd Wright's belief in the importance of family life. Okay. For other people.
So, Adam's been doing the stuff.
I did one last week about Frank Lloyd Wright's scandals. So this week we'll just focus a little more on the architecture and the people who hired him.
Did you get people that were upset?
I don't think so. I think when I give like bus tours of Frank Lloyd Wright stuff for people who are on like 2-week Frank Lloyd Wright tours, you can rip on him personally and they're fine with it. Excellent. I mean, nobody has any illusions about this guy. He was, frankly, as architects of his era go, not so bad. I mean, I don't have any data about him at a party where underage girls jumped out of pies or anything.
Yeah,
but he was just such a jerk about what he did do.
It's like, but saying that, he's kind of like, it's kind of like saying that they're the normal Jackson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but
right
context.
Right. The biggest thing, well, mostly it was a distinct lack of media training, like a Chapel Rowan level lack of media training.
Oh, Chapel Rowan.
Let me hold. I can't name a Chapel Rowan song.
I've been a fan for years, but she is.
H-O-T-T-O-G-O. That's all I know. That's all I know.
I've been a fan for years, but she has got to get some media. Well, she fits the model of church kid who is queer now, but still hasn't really changed. You still get to hate all the liberals, but
we all know her.
Mm.
Thank you both so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Ken will be filling in for me on Monday. I believe Adam will be joining you one day. I think Elliot's going to be Ken, Adam, and Elliot each a day next week.
All right.
So please tune in.
The trifecta fun.
Well, I'm in New Orleans. Up next, Randy Rhodes, followed by Matt McNeil. Thank you, Lady B, for everything. Everyone have a lovely Monday evening. I'm going to be on the virtual comedy show tonight, virtualcomedyshow.com. Bye, everybody.